So look at this question. This question here is in a class test, the marks scored by 11 students are, and these are given. Okay, these are the marks of 11 students are given. So here, since the marks of 11 students are given, how many observations are given? There are 11 observations that are given, right? And 11 is odd, right? Now your first question is you have to find out the median. Now if you remember in class 9, I told you median for an odd number of observations is n plus 1 by 2th observation, right? Which is equal to, okay, before this, first of all, let's arrange these in ascending order before starting the median. Okay, so the given observations in ascending order. In ascending order are. So what are the observations in ascending order? If you have to arrange these in ascending order, lowest is 3, then comes 5, then comes 6, 7, and then 11, and then 13. Then you have a 15, and then you have two 17s, right? And then you have a 19, and then you have a 20. Okay, so you have arranged these in ascending order. Now we shall answer all the questions. First question is median. Median for an odd number of observations is n plus 1 by 2th observation. So n plus 1 by 2th observation here is 11 plus 1 by 2th observation, which is 12 by 2, which is 6th observation. So which one is the 6th observation? First, second, third, fourth, fifth, and 6th from the left hand side. So your 6th observation here is 13. So your median here is 13, right? So this part you have already done in your class 9. Let us see the next question, which is your lower quartile. Lower quartile, we calculate just like the median. The process is exactly the same. The lower quartile is denoted by Q1. Okay, it is nothing but the n plus 1 by 4th observation. So please remember the formula for this, that the lower quartile, your formula is n plus 1 by 4th observation. Now why 4? Now how to remember this formula? See, quartile, quarter means 4, right? So that is why you have a 4 here. Median means mid, right? In between values. That is why you have a 2 here. Okay, so you have a 4 in the denominator there. So you have lower quartile n plus 1 by 4th observation, which is equal to 11 plus 1 by 4th observation, which is 12 by 4, which is 3rd observation. And which one is the 3rd observation from the left? First, second, and you have your 3rd observation, which is 6. So you have 6 as your lower quartile. Okay. Next question is upper quartile. Upper quartile is denoted by Q3. Okay. Here also the denominator is 4 and the numerator is n plus 1, except that we multiply the numerator with 3. Okay. So your upper quartile is 3 into n plus 1 by 4th observation. Okay. So you have 3 into 11 plus 1 by 4th observation. Okay. Which is 9th observation here in this case. And which one is the 9th observation? So you start from the left hand side. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 7, 8, and you have the 9th observation. So this is your 17. This is your upper quartile. Okay. So once we have calculated the upper quartile and the lower quartile, the first question that you see here is interquartile range. Interquartile range. The interquartile range is nothing but Q3 minus Q1. Okay, this is the formula for interquartile range. You know the value of Q3, 17. You know the value of Q1, which is 6. So 17 minus 6 should come to 11. And that is how you calculate the median and the quartiles and the interquartile range. Okay. Now this was for a number of observations that are given to you. Okay. Now I will do a certain variation. Your natural question should be that what if I get the lower quartile if I'm calculating. Suppose n is equal to, in this case, let's say n is equal to 14, and lower quartile you are calculating. Okay. What is the lower quartile in this case? N plus 1 by 4th observation, right? Which is equal to 14 plus 1 by 4th observation, which is equal to 15 by 4th observation. In this case, what do you do? How do you locate 15 by 4th observation? Okay, this is one question that should naturally come to your mind. Although in this case, very conveniently, we have got a 3rd observation here, we've got a 9th observation here. But what if you get this quantity as a fraction? Then what you are going to do? Okay, we'll see that a little later. Okay, for the time being, let's move on to the next question. And in this question, you have a simple frequency distribution without class intervals. Okay, this is also a frequency distribution, but there are no class intervals. Then how do you calculate the median, lower quartile, upper quartile, and the interquartile range? So whenever you get this kind of a distribution, first of all, you will draw 3 columns. Okay, the first column will be for your the variable which you need to calculate the median of. This is the variable heights. So the first column is for heights, whose median you need to calculate in centimeter. Okay. Next column should be for number of students or frequency. This is F. And the third column is for cumulative frequency. CS. Now for heights and frequency, that is the number of students, you write down the readings corresponding to each other. They have 151, 152, 153, 154, 155, 156, 157. Okay, so these are the variates whose median you need to calculate. Let us now write down the frequencies. So for 151 you have 6. For this you have 4. For this you have 11. For this you have 9, 16, 12, and 2. You have 16, 12, and 2. And now the third column is for cumulative frequency. So you calculate the cumulative frequency. First one is frequency is 6. So this will be 6. The next one will be you add these two. So you get 6 plus 4 is equal to 10. Next will be you add these two. 10 plus 11, which is 21. Next one will be you add these two. You get 21 plus 9, which is 30. Next is you add these two. You get 30 plus 16 is equal to 46. And similarly for this one, you add these two. 46 plus 12, which is equal to 58. And finally, you add these two. 58 plus 2 will give you 60. Now, what is 60 here? 60 here is equal to n, the total number of observations, right? If you add this or this column also, you'll get 60. Okay. So this is this table. Once you have made this table, the formula for median remains the same. So here n is how much? 60, which is even, right? So now median, so let me write 1 here. Median for even number of observations, is n by 2th observation plus n by 2 plus 1th observation. The whole divided by 2. This was the formula that you had done in your class 9. So this is 60 by 2th observation plus 60 by 2 plus 1th observation divided by 2. So now if you simplify this, you're going to get 30th observation plus 31st observation divided by 2. Now the question is, which one is the 30th observation, which one is the 31st observation, right? So see here, you have 30th observation. You look at the cumulative frequencies column. Here you have a 6, here you have a 10, here you have a 21. You are looking for the 30th observation, right? So 30th observation is here, isn't it? This is the 30th observation, and the corresponding height for the 30th observation is 154. So you write here 154. Plus, now the question is 31st observation. 31st observation clearly means that 31 is a number that lies between 30 and 46, right? So here is where 31 lies, isn't it? Between 30 and 46. So you choose the next observation, which is 155 as your 31st observation. So here you have 31st observation is 155 divided by 2, right? So you get 309 by 2, which is equal to 154.5. And this is your required median for a simple frequency distribution. Okay. Let us see how to calculate the quartiles in this case. Lower quartile, first of all. Lower quartile, Q1. You know the formula for lower quartile, n plus 1 by 4th observation. Right? So put the value 60 plus 1 by 4th observation. Right? So here in this case, you are getting 61 by 4th observation, which is 1, and you have 15.25th observation. Right? Now the question is, which one is the 15.25th observation? So you again look at the cumulative frequencies table. If you look at the cumulative frequency table, you see that 15.25th observation lies between 10 and 51, right? Right? So you will take this as your 15.25th observation, which is 153. Okay. Third one. Now, sometimes what they do is, now in your textbook, what is given here is that median they have taken as n by 4th observation, right? Now see, because we are dividing a numerator by 4, it hardly matters whether you take n plus 1 by 4th observation or you take n by 4th observation, right? Because you are because n plus 1, because you're dividing by 4, as it is, you will get a decimal number, isn't it? The chances of getting a decimal number, whether you divide n plus 1 by 4 or whether you divide n by 4, the chances of getting a decimal number is very high. So whether you take n plus 1 by 4 or you take n by 4, it is the same thing. Okay, so both the formulas you can use. You can use this formula also for lower quartile. You can use this formula also for lower quartile. Okay, any of the two you can use. In fact, in the higher classes, you will see that we'll be using this formula. Okay, so let's move on to the next question, which is upper quartile. Upper quartile is Q3, which is thrice n plus 1 by 4th observation, which is thrice 60 plus 1 by 4th observation, right? So 60 plus 1 by 4 we have found above, which is 15.25. So 3 into 15.25 observation, right? Which is, um, I think it should come to 45.75 observation. Okay. And which one is the 45.75 observation? If you look at the cumulative frequency table here again, right? 45.75 lies between 30 and 46, right? So 45.75 observation is between these two. So that is why you take this as your upper quartile, Q3. So your Q3 is 151. And finally, you have the interquartile range as your fourth question, which is very easy, Q3 minus Q1. Once you have found Q3 and Q1, it is very easy to find out the interquartile range. Interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1, which is 155 minus 153, which is equal to 2. Okay, this is for your uh, this is the calculation of median and quartiles for simple frequency distribution where class intervals are not given. Now the obvious question is what to do in case of class intervals. Okay, so let's see this question here. What to do when this kind of a question is given, when you have a class interval form, when you have to calculate median where class boundaries or class limits are given to you, then what do you do? Okay, now I will not complete this question today, but what I'll do is I'll just give you a brief outline of how to start this question. Okay, so whenever you get this kind of a question where class intervals are given and you need to calculate the median, you must first see whether class boundaries or class limits are given. So if you see here, each of these are class boundaries because they are overlapping, right? All these that are given to you here, all these are class boundaries, right? Because this is overlapping, right? These are overlapping. So what is given to you is nothing but class boundaries, right? If, however, class boundaries are not given, you will convert them to class boundaries first, okay? Which we'll see in a question later on. But first of all, we see that this is a class boundary, so no problem, right? Now what you are going to do is you are going to make this kind of a table first. Say solution. In this table, what you are going to do is you are going to select the lower class boundary of each class. Lower class boundary. Here the lower class boundary is 0. So first of all, here you will write a 0 here. Let me write here first lower class boundary. Lower class boundary. And here you have your cumulative frequency, right? So first lower class boundary, what we saw here was 0, isn't it? So here we write a 0, right? And what is the frequency here corresponding to this? 5. So we write 5. Now in the next column, you are going to write the next lower class boundary, which is 10. So write 10 here. And what is the cumulative frequency of this 10? You add these two. How much do you get? 15, right? So you get 15. Next, you take the next lower class boundary, which is 20. So write 20 here. And the next cumulative frequency, when we added these two, we got 15, right? So 15 plus 14 will now give us 29. Take the next lower class boundary, 30. And then you have 40, 50, continue taking, right? 60, 70, 80, and 90. So you have till 90. So we are going to write here till 90. So 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and finally you have in 90. right? And we are going to continue write the cumulative frequencies. So when we total these three, how much did we get? 29, right? So 29 plus 21 will now give us 50, right? Now 50 you have got. Now 50 plus 25 will give us 75, right? 75. Now I've got 75. 75 plus 34, right? Is going to give us 109, right? 109 plus 36 will give us 145, right? And next 145, till here you have got 145. 145 plus 27 will give us 172. Next 172 plus 16 will give us 188. And finally 188 plus 12 will give us 200, right? So once you have got these, once you have made this table, half of your job is done. Okay. Now you just need to draw the graph. Okay. So what points are we plotting here? The points. What are the points? 0, 5. This is the first point. X coordinate 0, Y coordinate 5. Next point 10, 15. Next coordinate 20, 29. Next coordinate 30, 50. Next coordinate 40, 75. Next coordinate 50, 109. Next coordinate 60, 145. Next coordinate 70, 172. Next coordinate 80, 188. And 90, 200 are plotted below. Okay, I will show you the plottings in the next class. Now, before starting to plot, please note that here n is the total number of total frequency here is 200, right? So we are going to use this also because we have got here 200. This is n. The last cumulative frequency is nothing but the sum of all the frequencies. So here, please note that here the total number of frequency here is 200. And these points need to be plotted in the graph. Okay. So I'll show you the plottings in the next class. And then once we have plotted the graph, then from this graph will be called the ogive. Okay. This is a curve which will be called as the ogive. From the ogive, once we have drawn the ogive, next we will be answering all these questions. We will be calculating the median also. We will be calculating the upper and the lower quartile also. We'll be calculating the interquartile, semi-interquartile, all these questions. But only after the graph has been drawn. Only when the correct graph has been drawn, you will be able to answer all these questions correctly. Okay, that I will show you tomorrow. Okay, so I stop here.